questions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I ask the Cabinet Secretary for Education the following questions. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the rationale and policy behind the directive transferring secondary school teachers in physics, chemistry, biology, and history to junior secondary schools? Number two, state the measures implemented to ensure harmony in primary schools, especially considering the different uniforms and titles for grade 7 pupils and class 8. 3, provide a list of secondary school lacking functional laboratories. Clarify the number of times candidates in these schools have taken KCSE practical exams elsewhere, and state whether these schools will be equipped with laboratories before equipping junior secondary schools. Question number 4, outline the total number of lessons each pupil is supposed to offer per week, the requisite hours for rest, and why there has been an increase in the number of primary school pupils attending lessons over the weekends. Question number 5, give reasons why the book, the Diary of Wimpkid, which contains very obscene language, has not been banned from the circulation. Outline measures put in place to ensure books with improper language are not allowed into the country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for those questions. Mr. Speaker, the answer to question 1 is that the government has not issued and/or made any policy directive to transfer secondary school teachers in any physics, chemistry, biology, and history to junior school. There is no such policy by the government. Question 2, the measures taken. Mr. Speaker, junior schools are domiciled in existing primary schools. The ministry issued the guidelines for the implementation of junior school education in January 2023. Mr. Speaker, the guidelines stipulate that junior school leadership shall determine the uniform for their schools in consultation with the respective stakeholders and the sub-county director of education. This includes additional unique features for identification and branding of the institutions. The guidelines also provide clear that no learner shall be excluded from school for failure to afford a school uniform. Mr. Speaker, the determination of school uniforms through stakeholder involvement is meant to ensure that the specific school community decides on the uniforms that is sensitive to their needs of the school, thereby ensuring that there is harmony. In any event, Mr. Speaker, junior school and primary schools are under the same board management and the same head of institution, thereby creating a basis for harmonious functioning in the same institution. Mr. Speaker, we also wish to inform the House that the last cohort of Class 8 sat their examinations in December 2023. Currently, all learners in grade 7 onwards are in junior school under the competency-based education. Mr. Speaker, on question 3, the schools that are lacking functional laboratories. Mr. Speaker, the list of schools without laboratories is provided in Annex 1 of our written report. There are, however, a total of 1,366 secondary schools countrywide that do not have functioning laboratories. Mr. Speaker, in the next financial year, we have made a plan to construct approximately 2,000 laboratories in secondary schools, and that will be covered in these schools that do not have laboratories at the moment. Mr. Speaker, we will also be seeking the support of the House to provide further resources for the construction of these particular laboratories. especially as we approach the 100% transition to senior school next year. I wish to once again thank members of Parliament for the support they have given us in funding infrastructure development in schools through NGCDF. We look forward to further support in equipping these secondary schools and these labs. Mr. Speaker, I wish to request for additional time to be able to provide information on the actual number of times that candidates in each of these specific schools have taken KCSE practical exams elsewhere other than in the schools that they are supposed to have done because of the lack of the laboratories. I wasn't able to get that information, and I wish to get lower primary, which is grade 1 to 3, and upper primary, which is grade 4 to 6. The implementation of the curriculum is designed in a timetable that changes with the levels as the learners graduate or progress. The timetable for pre-primary level presents 5 lessons per day and 25 lessons per week, and they have 4 breaks each, including day break. At the lower primary level, grade 1 to 3, the timetable presents 6 lessons per day, 31 lessons per week with 4 breaks per day. At the upper primary level, grade 4 to 6, the timetable provides for 7 lessons per day, 35 lessons per week, which lasts for 30 minutes each. There are 4 breaks per day. At grade 7, 8, and 9, which is junior school, the timetable presents 8 lessons per day. Each lesson takes 40 minutes. There are 41 lessons per week, including pastoral times, and there are 4 breaks per day. Mr. Speaker, I wish to confirm that the official timetable does not accommodate any programs for attending lessons over the weekend. Learners are expected to rest on Saturdays and Sundays and on public holidays. Any instances in which learners are required to attend school over the weekend will be therefore irregular. The ministry will take appropriate corrective action once such cases are reported to us. In the response, Mr. Speaker, I have provided a table that stipulates what I have just indicated, and I do not need to go through it because of time, but it is clear that we have 25 lessons for pre-primary per week, 31 lessons for grade 1 to 3, 35 lessons for grade 4 and 6, 41 lessons for junior school. Mr. Speaker, on the question of the book, The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the mentioned book is not part of the books that have been approved by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development for use in our schools. The regulation, however, of books circulating in Kenya is within the purview of the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy within the legal framework of the Books and Newspapers Act Cap 111. We have brought the subject matter to the attention of the said ministry for appropriate action, and we will follow up to confirm that that particular offending book has been deregistered from approval.
Member for Westlands.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister, Bwana says, we have these teachers who are employed by the Board of Management, BOM. So sometimes when these teachers are absorbed by TSC, why is it that when they are absorbed by TSC, they are posted outside the jurisdiction where they have been operating? They are not even allowed to be posted back to the schools that have actually been supporting them. They are even posted outside the county. I remember within my constituency, there were teachers who were employed by BOM, and when they were absorbed by TSC, they were posted to Kajiado and other counties outside Nairobi. Why is that so? And Bwana CS, then the GSS, there are some schools that have got more children in this junior secondary, and you find that the ratio teacher to to the pupils, to the students, is like some schools just have about 1 or 2 teachers. How do you ensure that these children will get adequate lessons from these teachers? Because I don't think 2 teachers can manage to handle 200 students alone. Thank you.
Yes, yes, Ferdinand Wanyonyi, and you'll be the only joyrider to that.
Yeah, on question number 4, the CS, you have said that it's illegal for schools to have lessons over the weekend. Pana CS, I don't know why it should be illegal, because there is also a catch-up. Just in case there's a problem, maybe the teacher was sick or something like that, why should you say this will be illegal to have lessons over the weekend? Yet that is just maybe for the particular class or whatever to catch up in case there's been a problem.
CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the question of the BM teachers who are absorbed by TSC, once the teachers have been absorbed by TSC, they become subject to the guidelines and regulations that govern the TSC employed teachers, one of which is that they can be transferred to work anywhere in the country. And that is the reason why that transfer happened and you are moved from where you were to another place, because now you are subject to a completely different set of regulations and you become a teacher of TSC, not the teacher for that particular BOM school. And that is the reason why that transfer or that posting is done. The question of the teacher-student ratio in JSS, it is true we have a shortage of the teachers, but the ministry through TSC and other stakeholders have employed 46,000 intern teachers to cap this shortage. We're also planning to employ another 20,000 teachers. And during the month of December, TSC and other multi-agency organizations will be retooling the existing teachers so that they are trained well enough to be able to take up the lessons that are required for grade 9 in the junior school, so that that gap is reduced. But the reason why we have those shortages is because of financial constraints, and as we keep getting budgets, we'll keep increasing the number and reducing the gap of the teacher-student ratio. And we are going to be ensuring that we are using other aids, including digital teaching, so that the students get as much as possible out of the lessons they are getting in order for them to get the actual standard lessons that they need to get. I indicated that on the question of weekend lessons, they are not official. I didn't say they are illegal, Mheshimiwa Wanyonyi. I said it is irregular. It's not usual. It is irregular because it's not a legal requirement for us to have them over the weekends. But where teachers and the students agree and the parents, they can have those remedial classes in agreement by consent. But it's not a government policy that we should have lessons on weekends as a legal or as a circular or as a government position. It is something that they can do as an arrangement within themselves. But it is not illegal. I said it is irregular. There's a bit of a difference there. Thank you. Thank you, Mwesh.
Question 091 of 2024, member for Kinango. Honorable Gonzirai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to ask question number 091. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide the status of the delayed payment for Mr. Salim Mndalundegwa, who was a teacher at Nzovuni Primary School up to 30th of June 2022, when he was put on compulsory retirement? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The processing of Mr. Salim Mndalundegwa's pension stalled due to the disparities in his set of names as indicated on the various documents in the teacher service record. The teacher's names on record seem to refer to different persons. The Commission duly communicated this to the teacher. He was requested to obtain a deed poll if he intended to have changed his names. It is noted from the record that the teacher's documents bear the following different sets of names: Salim Mndalo, as one set, Ndegwa Mundalo as another set, Mundalu Chirunga another set, and lastly Mundalu Salim Ndegwa Chirunga, respectively. These disparities were noted on the academic and professional testimonials, as well as the old generation identity card that particular teacher used. A reminder was sent to the teacher via a letter dated 15 February 2024 to submit a deed poll in order to regularize his names. However, to date, that teacher has not submitted the same to facilitate the finalization of his claim. A copy of the letter to the teacher is provided as annexure number 2. Thank you, I submit.
Gonzirai, I think that is very clear. Do you have any supplementary?
It is very clear, but what is actually bothering me is that on 6th of February 2024, I wrote to them requesting if there was any problem. Today I'm being told they wrote on 15th and the teacher has not received that letter. Currently he's in hospital. So if I could just get a copy of that letter, I could just facilitate the deed plan for the exercise to be expedited. Thank you.
Provide the details to...
We'll provide the details before we leave.
Dedoraso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Waziri, the issue that has been presented to you is not a standalone one. Teachers work for very many years, maybe 40 years, 45, stretching up to 50 years. But when it comes to pension, they actually slog. They spend a lot of money to come to Nairobi to look for their pension. Are you able to put a policy in place such that those who have worked for many years actually will receive their pension in ease? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I'm discouraging many joyriders, but as give him give Honorable Melemba the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I confirm. The question, the way it has been answered, looks very simple and easy, but good luck. Somebody else has talked about it. What is the ministry doing about pensions for teachers? Because now it's a broad thing that's affecting many families, that many teachers are unable to get their pensions on time. Thank you.
Dorothy, what is it? I said I want only one joyrider. Give Dorothy.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I too rise to ask the ministry what they are doing to streamline this pension payment to alleviate the suffering of teachers who retire. Honorable Speaker, it is evident that as it has been alluded, that teachers work for close to 40 years, and after retire, they languish, and some of them eventually die even before receiving their pension payment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Speaker. This concern is well noted, and since we are doing the review of the actual TSC acts and other legal instruments that govern this sector, we will indeed bring it upon ourselves to ensure that we have done an amendment to how the pension fund for the TSC is run, to include, I think, a provision that once a teacher is about to retire, 12 months to that retirement age, the processing of their documentation and what needs to happen when they retire in terms of their pension should be in place, so that they do not have to leave and then come back to TSC to be able to get their pension. It should be done while they are in service during the last year of their service. So we'll include it in our regulations.
Question 09. Question 093 of 2024, member for Nairobi County, Esther Passaris. Esther Passaris, question dropped. You can't joyride on no question. Question 094-2024, Victor Koech. Mandazi, is he in the house? Honorable Victor Koech of Chepalungu. Question dropped. Question 096 of 2024. Member for Nyeri Town, Duncan Madenge. Order. Honorable Madenge. Question dropped. Question 097 of 2024. Member for Emuhaya Omboko Milemba.
Very well, Honorable Speaker. I'm asking the following question to the Cabinet Secretary for Education. Will the Cabinet Secretary explain why the Ministry is yet to provide authorization for purpose of conducting fresh parent associations election in various counties and sub-counties? Parent associations. Number two, provide a specific date when the parent association elections in various counties and sub-counties would be held. And number three, state measures in place by the ministry to ensure that in future elections are conducted on a regular basis for effective management of schools. And further, is the Cabinet Secretary aware that Teacher Service Commission was to do promotions of more teachers, but somewhat they have been curtailed by the Ministry of the Treasury to do what otherwise they would have done, because they don't need any monies from Treasury, but they just need to use their own monies, A, to promote about 45,000 teachers. And you being the oversighting ministry, you could make a comment on that. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And for the record, Honorable Gonzi Rai has received the letter. You can confirm we have given you that letter for Ndalu. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, may I respond to the questions asked by Honorable Mboko as follows? Mr. Speaker, paragraph 5 of the third schedule of the Basic Education Act 2013 provides that there shall be established a national parents associations, county parents associations, and sub-county parents associations elected by parents associations from schools through a delegate system. Just like other registered associations, Mr. Speaker, the National Parents Association is guided by its own constitution. The association does not require the authorization of the Ministry of Education to hold elections at the county and sub-county levels. The constitution of the association provides for the conduct of elections of its officials. As a ministry, Mr. Speaker, we are available upon request to provide any facilitative support to the extent possible to enable the associations undertake free, fair, and transparent elections in accordance with their constitutions. Mr. Speaker, in terms of management at the school levels, we have ensured compliance with the requirements of paragraph 1 of the third schedule of the Basic Education Act 2013. There are functional parents associations in our schools. Parents are also represented in the school's boards of management as required by Section 56, subsection 1 of the Act. There was a question on promotion of teachers by TSC. I didn't have that question on record, so I don't have the data. I could be given time to get the data, and then I can respond to it. It was not on the question paper.
Thank you. Nulemba. Honorable Milemba.
The Honorable Minister has given a very straightjacket answer to my question. But Parents Association, Honorable Speaker, was actually supposed to be managed in a way that we have a safety valve in our schools. And it was the responsibility of the ministry to make sure that that organ is operating, because originally we had several of them and were competing against each other in a way that education was not running properly. And he is aware of that. So as he says that he is waiting to be approached for any difficulties, is he aware that such elections have never been held for the last more than 6 years? And therefore, what is he doing as a minister to make sure that
in all schools or in some specific schools?
All schools, all places. So therefore, what is the ministry doing in its responsibility as a minister of education, running of education, to make sure that that happens? He cannot run away from it.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I've indicated, the parents' associations in our schools are functional and they are available. What may not have taken place is the elections in the National Parents Associations, which is like an umbrella body. And I'm getting that information now that there have not been elections in 6 years. I'm going to be able to look into it and find out what. Yeah,
Thank you. Pasares.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know you called my question when I wasn't here. I apologize. We have a delegation from China, and I had asked a question to the delegation, and I had to wait for the answer, as it would be unparliamentary to ask a question to a foreign delegation and then leave before they give the answer. I beg to ask the question 093.
I have not given you authority. You are only explaining why you are not here.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, you know that when we come with these questions, because we change...
Include provision for hardship allowance to technical, vocational, hardship allowance to technical, vocational, education tech training tutors in Yatta constituency, despite their counterparts employed by the Teachers Service Commission receiving such allowance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the outset, Mr. Speaker, I wish to state that there are different allowances schemes for the teachers who are employed by the Teacher Service Commission and technical trainers who are part of the National Public Service. The current designation of hardship areas for the National Public Service is set out in the circular by the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service dated 7th of December 2015 under reference number OB/CAB.1.31A. A copy of that circular is annexed as annexure number 5. The area where Yatta Technical Vocational College is located is not among the designated areas or hardship areas. On the other hand, legal notice number 534 of 1997 under the Teachers Service Commission Act includes Yatta Division as a hardship area. A copy of the legal notice is also provided as an annex number 6. Mr. Speaker, we are working with the relevant government agencies under the leadership of the Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development to streamline the framework on the payment of hardship allowance. We have taken note to highlight these discrepancies to the Ministry of Public Service and Human Development for appropriate action. I submit.
Anton Olwach. Sorry. Basil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the response is not satisfactory and is actually discriminating when you say some tutors should not receive allowance like other tutors who are facing the same challenges like them. So I think the ministry needs to do some research to ensure there is parity when it comes to giving allowance to tutors. Mr. Speaker, I also have another question on the capitation funds. For 2023, there were arrears of more than 22% of capitation funds to my primary schools. So can the ministry explain why is it so? Number 2, now we are in examination period and my sub-account directors of education have no means of transport, Mr. Speaker, and I raised that question to the ministry. So can the ministry tell us whether they are going to give a vehicle for my sub-county directors to boost their mobility as they discharge or deliver services in the sub-county? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And in a related question, I think the Cabinet Secretary has a duty to let the members know what the general policy of the ministry is to ensure that TVETs, which this house every year allocates money to, and it's supposed to be a bridge between the universities and people who cannot make it to the universities, do not collapse. And I ask this because of the perennial non-remittance of capitation to TVETs. Could the Cabinet Secretary enlighten what the policy is generally to ensure TVETs do not collapse and that they get capitation like the universities? Thank you.
Barto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a related question on TVET. I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary, when is he planning to complete Moiben School of TVET, which has been incomplete for the last 15 years?
Members, I said only one joyrider. Now I see so many hands. Tuitum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The issue of hardship allowance is a weighty matter in this country. In 2021, there was a tripartite task force that went around the entire country, mapping out regions that need to be included in the hardship areas. Is the minister aware that that report has not been released yet? And why has it not been released? Because the task force involved the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Interior, and the TSC to map out new regions that require hardship allowance. And again, it is the civil service or civil servant within an hardship area who are supposed to be benefiting, not the categories, whether you are in Tibet, you are a teacher, or you are in any other country. Thank you.
CS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To Honorable Basil's question on the question of capitation, the capitation is normally released based on the exchequer that is received, and it is distributed across the country to all the learners. And as I think I was here before and I indicated that there has not been a year when capitation has been released 100%. There's always a shortfall, and as a government, we try as much as possible to ensure that what we get, we distribute it evenly across the country so that as many children as possible can get to school. In terms of the hardship question, hardship area question, and I can answer that generally, is that it is true that there are discrepancies on how the issue of hardship is determined. In fact, the other day I was in Rabai, which is a hardship area. It is also not registered as an hardship area. So as a ministry, what we've done is do a document, and we are presenting it to the Ministry of Public Service in order for them to harmonize the hardship areas, because like in Yata, you'd find the TSC are determined as hardship, and then the trainers are not hardship because they fall in the civil service. That is not right. So we are working towards harmonizing that whole area of the issue surrounding hardship so that it is harmonized, it is determined, it is clear, there is clarity around it. So we are working towards ensuring that it is harmonized. On the question of Moiben, the challenge that has been there is a question of getting funds for the infrastructure. We have a number of institutions that are incomplete, and Moiben is part and parcel of that. So what we have done under the TVET department is to come up with all the register of all the TVETs that are not complete and work out how much money we require in order for them to be completed. And we're going to be presenting this, and hopefully this house will allocate resources so that we can complete those particular TVETs that are not completed, even as we do the new ones. And in terms of the non-remittance of capitation to TVETs, just like in universities, that issue has been addressed. I came into office and I found it was an issue and we addressed it. And now the resources are released at the same time as when we are releasing the university capitation. So like now we are releasing the ones for the universities and we are releasing together with the ones of TVETs because they face the same issues. So it's already been addressed. Thank you.
Which one has India answered?
What? By sub-county directors of education that are mobilized.
Oh yes, thank you. Thank you. Quite recently, we got resources to do 2022, I think 2023, we got resources to buy some vehicles for sub-counties and they were distributed and they got finished. So we are coming back again to request for more resources and more budget to ensure that at least each sub-county has a means as a vehicle. So the challenge that we have is not that we do not want to give them vehicles, the budgetary limitations. But once we buy, we continue allocating them and we are reducing the number. So it is in the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 099 of 2024. Member for Kibwezi West, Mwengi Mutuse. I have received a letter from Mwengi Mutuse nominating Edwin Mugo Gishuki to ask the question on his behalf. Edwin, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 099/24 on behalf of Honorable Mwengi Mutuse. Could the Cabinet Secretary, one, confirm that 12,000 acres of land located at Kisayani Kibwezi West constituency was surrendered by the locals to the University of Nairobi in the year 1988 with the proposal that a higher education institution would be set up in the area. Two, explain why it has taken inordinately long for the university to establish processes in building and opening of the university on the said land. Three, clarify whether there are plans to start a university campus within the existing buildings, and if not, state whether the land can revert to its original owners. Four, clarify whether sections of the land are being allowed to private investors, and if so, provide the measures put in place to ensure there is transparency and public participation, including consultation with elected leaders in this process. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to confirm that the University of Nairobi has ownership of the 12,000 acres of land at Kisayani, Kibwezi West constituency under land reference number 25060. This land was allocated to the university by the government of Kenya in 1988, following a comprehensive process of relocation and compensation of the original occupants. The primary purpose, Mr. Speaker, of the allocation of the land was to establish a specialized research and training institute focusing on range management and dry land natural resources. Mr. Speaker, despite the lack of funding that has hindered the development of large-scale physical infrastructure, the university has actively utilized the land and Kisayani for research, training, and community outreach. The strategies that the university has employed to use the land are as follows. Between 1988 and 1992, the university developed essential infrastructure to support both short and long-term academic programs alongside research facilities and training infrastructure. Number two, through international collaboration, particularly with Mashavu University from Israel, and supported by USAID funding, the university implemented a state-of-the-art irrigation demonstration center. This project, which operated from 1992 to 2004, successfully cultivated Asian vegetables, tropical crops, and fruits, providing significant employment opportunities and enhancing food security for the local community. During this period, the university established the Institute of Dryland Research Development and Utilization, which has been instrumental in conducting research on dryland resource utilization. The Institute actively engages with local communities through workshops and seminars focusing on livestock, husbandry, dryland crops, forestry, and land rehabilitation. The university actively uses infrastructure on the land for departmental research, training, and community support. Mr. Speaker, the Institute for Dryland Research, Development, and Utilization operates as a fully fledged unit of the University of Nairobi. The facility serves as an integral dryland research academic center of excellence, supporting various departments across the university as follows. The Department of Land Resource Management and Agricultural Technology conducts research in the rangeland ecology and biodiversity conservation. Number 2, the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine utilizes the facility for animal health research and community outreach services. Number 3, the Department of Geospatial and Space Technology conducts experiential learning, inland survey, and remote sensing. Number 4, in collaboration with the Kenya Meteorological Services and the Ministry of Environment, the Department of Geology has established a seismology center for monitoring seismic activities. And number 5, the Department of Chemistry conducts significant research on ethnomedicinal plants and herbs. Mr. Speaker, the Institute maintains a comprehensive demonstration field where the university promotes livestock management, agriculture, dryland pasture production, and horticultural crops. The seemingly undeveloped portions of the land serve a crucial purpose in ecological studies and biodiversity monitoring and conservation. The land is therefore under active utilization. The original owners were duly compensated and resettled in Masangaleni, and therefore there are no grounds for reversion of ownership. Going into the future, Mr. Speaker, the university's master plan envisions the advancement of the Kisayani site through the following plans: partnering with the county government of Makueni to integrate local development priorities into research and education, exploring carbon trading opportunities through reforestation and dryland biodiversity conservation initiatives, and 3, mobilizing resources in the area of climate resilience and fostering partnerships that advance the university's mission. Mr. Speaker, no part of the land has been allocated to private investors. The Land Commission acquired 2 hectares, that is measuring 6.8 acres of the land, for upgrading of the Kibwezi, Mutomo, Kitui, Kabati, Migwane Road project. The university has current partnership with the Kenya Forestry Research Institute and the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, which advance the university's research objectives. KEFRI conducts valuable research on vacancy, benefiting dryland communities, while ITTA supports the Kibwezi Entrepreneur Youth Group, providing crucial agricultural entrepreneurship training. The university has also partnered with the Utafiti Day Boarding Primary School, which occupies a portion of the land. The land occupied by the school is not used for any private activities and does not affect the university's development. I submit.
Thank you.
Both for primary and secondary and the ordinary schools. And secondary and the ordinary schools. And 2, provide details of the criteria used to post teachers to special needs institutions, including whether it considered the ratio of teachers to pupils. And lastly, 3, elaborate on the measures being taken by the ministry to ensure that special needs institutions have enough teachers and necessary facilities as provided in the ordinary schools. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are 378 integrated primary schools. There are 378 integrated primary special needs education schools in the country with an enrollment of 40,282 learners. There are 2,514 special primary schools with an enrollment of 77,283 learners. There are 81 secondary schools, special needs education schools, with a total enrollment of 7,183 learners. There are 155 junior school special needs education institutions with an enrollment of 3,443 learners. We also have 112 pre-vocational special needs education institutions with a total enrollment of 2,067 learners. Mr. Speaker, the TSC Commission deploys teachers to special needs education schools based on 1, the ratio of teachers to pupils, number 2, the type of disability, and number 3, the level of disability. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to that classification of disability under the sector policy of learners and trainees with disabilities 2018, the pupil-teacher ratio for various categories of SNE of special needs education is as shown as follows. Number 1, the mentally handicapped have a teacher-student ratio of 1 to 10. Mentally handicapped that is severe has a teacher-student ratio of 1 to 4. Autism has a teacher-learner ratio of 1 to 4. Physically handicapped have a teacher-learner ratio of 1 to 15. Cerebral palsy has a teacher-learner ratio of 1 to 4. Hearing impaired has a teacher-learner ratio of 1 to 12. Visually impaired has a teacher-learner ratio of 1 to 15. The deaf-blind have a teacher-learner ratio of 1 to 1. To address the current teacher shortage in special schools and units, the Teacher Service Commission has employed the following measures. 1, it has deployed 5,363 qualified teachers from regular schools to special schools and units in the 2023-2024 and 2024-2025 financial year in 4 phases as follows. In phase 1, it was done in May 2024, and 1,763 teachers were deployed. In phase 2, September 2024, 1,200 teachers were deployed. In phase 3, January 2025, it is intended to deploy 1,200 teachers, and in phase 4, June 2025, we'll deploy another 1,200 teachers. Notably, Mr. Speaker, the Commission has completed the deployment of teachers in phase 1 and 2 and will commence the deployment of the phase 3 and 4 in January. Currently, the Commission is in the process of recruiting 344 special needs education teachers interns handling learners with special needs, namely cerebral palsy, hearing impaired, visually impaired, and physically impaired. I submit.
Yes, Odanga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, special needs education institutions need to be considered as really special and given priority even over other institutions in the country. Looking at the numbers of pupils and students that are provided by the Cabinet Secretary, this comes to over 200,000 learners countrywide. And I'm not satisfied that there are only 81 secondary school special needs education institutions. If that is true, then I think that Kenyans are being starved of special needs education institutions in the country, and something needs to be done to improve. Because if you have over 200,000, those are mainly pupils, and then 81 those are mainly pupils, and then main institutions, which are mainly in primary, and only 81 in secondary. Then that means that these pupils who complete primary in special needs education are disappearing somewhere. This needs to be addressed by the Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Speaker. Also, there are issues in number 2, when looking at the ratio of pupil or students to teachers. For a mentally handicapped institution to have a ratio of 1 to 10, this is far below the par. and this needs to be addressed. These are mentally handicapped children, having one teacher handling 10 of them. Then there's something totally wrong that needs to be addressed urgently. Honorable Speaker, the ratio is far too low, and this needs to be addressed. Honorable Speaker, many of these teachers, which the Cabinet Secretary have said, who have transited from the ordinary schools to the special needs institutions, take too long even to be paid their allowances. You know, they are paid some allowances. And even I'm bothered why some aspects of the trainers are handled in the Teacher Service Commission and other aspects are handled by the ministry. Why not all of them go to the Teacher Service Commission so that they are handled in one place? Because issues like approving and moving them from the ordinary schools to the special needs, the issues are handled at the ministry. The budget is being handled at the ministry. So there is an issue that needs to be addressed here to make sure that these teachers are supported. They are given their allowances. You can imagine the children they are handling. They take them to sports, they are teaching them throughout, and then they are not given their allowances on time, and even their payment, Honorable Speaker, is low. The aides, teachers need them, the assisting devices, they also need them.
Instead of,
Honorable Speaker,
you are supposed to seek a clarification on the answer as given, but you are now debating.
I'm most obliged, Honorable Speaker. So I would like the Cabinet Secretary to give more information. I'm not totally satisfied with the information given. There are still lots of loopholes that he needs to provide. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Nabi.
Honorable Speaker, further to the answers given by the Cabinet Secretary, I would want to find out whether the Cabinet Secretary is aware, number one, that Mlimani Special School, Mukuyu Special School, Maturu Special School, and Lumani Special School do not have enough teachers in the ratio he has indicated. Secondly, whether the Cabinet Secretary is aware that in preparation for the CBC implementation in the senior school, there are no schools in some sub-counties that will ensure 100% transition of students who require special schools. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Masito is not Masito, Mama Mombasa. You are sitting in...
Mheshimiwa Spika, samahani leo sehemu yangu imevamiwa, ndio maana nimekaa huku Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kumuuliza Bwana Waziri, kwa nini walimu wengi wamefanya kazi muda mrefu bila wao kupata promotion, Mheshimiwa Spika, na kisha kuna ile pesa ambao wanafunzi wanalipishwa wanaita ya wanahitaji ile pesa, samahani, remedial. Unapata mwanafunzi amelipa school fees yote lakini anafukuzwa nyumbani kwa sababu ya remedial. Hii pesa ya remedial, Mheshimiwa Waziri, imekuja kusaidia kitu gani na mbona lazima watoto walipe, Mheshimiwa Spika?
Masomo ya ziada.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati mwingine mwanafunzi mshinda mwalimu. Mheshimiwa Waziri, tungependa kujua kwa nini watoto wanalipa masomo ya ziada, ile pesa ya masomo ya ziada, na wakati ambapo watakuwa wamelipa ile karo na bado wanafukuzwa shule, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na hawa walimu pia wanalazimishwa kuhamishwa kwenda katika shule zingine za mbali sana na nyumbani, inawasumbua sana, wanaacha familia hawawezi kuweza kufocus na ile masomo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Asante sana Waziri.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The ratios that we have given were analyzed in terms of the severity of the handicap and the disability, and where we will determine that there are shortages, it is because we do not have enough teachers. And what we are doing, as indicated earlier, the same challenges that we have in the ordinary schools are the same ones we have in the special needs school, but we'll give it special attention so that we can have many more teachers being employed for the special needs, so that we reduce the number of the gap of the teacher-learner ratio. In terms of the question relating to the teachers' allowances, that is handled by the Teacher Service Commission. They actually handle all the issues relating to both the teachers that are in normal schools and the teachers that are in the special needs schools. We do not deal with that aspect, we only deal with policy, and when issues like this have come, we liaise with TSC and we come up with policies that can make their work smoother and that much more cohesive. Now, in terms of the schools that Honorable Nabi has indicated that they do not have the the teacher-learner ratio that I have indicated, I don't have the details at hand of the numbers and the data, but once we determine, then we'll liaise with TSC to see whether there is something that can be done in that space. I don't have the actual numbers for those particular schools. That is Lumani, Makuyu School, and Mulanyu Special School. So we'll look into it and get the data so that we can be able to assist and work with TSC to see what can be done, especially in the 20,000 teachers that are going to be employed. We see whether we can have some done for that space. The question of 100% transition is the same thing that we are working on. As you are aware, we are doing a transition right now, and we are preparing the various classrooms, etc., to ensure that our students have transition seamlessly so that they can continue with their studies. So we are looking into that particular sector, and we are ongoing doing the infrastructure development. Walimu wengi bila kupata promotion, there is a program of promotion that is done by the TSC. I'm aware that they did promotion of a number of teachers, and the teachers normally apply for this promotion, and there is an interview that is done, and then the promotion is done for those teachers depending on the spaces that are available and the budgets that are available. But TSC is handling that particular aspect. Remedial school fees, masomo ya kurekebisha, ya ziada, those are unauthorized levies. They are not approved by the ministry, and where we get to know that this is happening, then we take action on those teachers. No parent is supposed to pay remedial fees or remedial levies. They are irregular levies that are not authorized by the ministry. I submit.
Thank you. Angela, what is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government wants 100% transition to high schools. And Mr. Speaker, you find that the government pays the capitation for each student. But teachers have put up levy about 10,000, 6,000, 12,000 that they buy food that students must eat in school. They send away these children, they don't learn, they are forced to pay whether they ate or they did not eat. This is the money that makes our students drop out, Mr. Speaker. What is the minister doing to stop these other levies, extra levies that are levied against our students? And Mr. Speaker, we also passed a motion, and the Committee of Implementation was answered by this ministry that no school will be allowed now to sell uniforms to students. Already I have a letter from one of the schools in Bungoma where the teacher, the head principal, has written that each student must come and buy uniforms again from the school at a very exorbitant price.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've indicated, those extra levies, those extra amounts that are being charged by teachers or by principals, those issues relating to uniforms being directed by principals to be purchased from specific areas, all those are irregular and unlawful. And once the ministry gets information on it, we take action on those principals immediately. There is no reason whatsoever for them to levy extra levies that we've not authorized, because then it brings a bit of a problem.
Thank you. Member for Madare, Anton Oloch.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask the CS question number 149 of 2024. Could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether there exists a policy on school meals and nutrition, and if not, indicate the measures put in place by the Ministry to develop such a policy? 2, outline the measures taken to create working strategies with county governments to ensure both early childhood development and primary schools have access to school meals. Thirdly, state the steps taken to roll out digitized school meals data and reporting modules with the National Education Management Information Systems. And lastly, provide the measures in place to ensure the alternative providers of basic education and training, popularly known as ABET schools, benefit from school feeding program. I thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The ministry has drafted a policy document titled the Kenya School Meals Policy. The draft has been developed through a collaborative approach involving the Ministry of Education, the United Nations World Food Programme, the NACONEC, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Ministries of Health, Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, Water, Sanitation and Irrigation. The overall goal of the policy is to provide a framework for implementation and management of the school meals program in Kenya. The policy provides for the establishment of the program based on clear goals, strategic objectives, and principles. The policy provides for key thematic areas that include access, equity, and inclusion, through which the government commits to provide diversified and healthy school meals to all learners, including those with special educational needs. The second thematic area is food safety and quality, under which the government commits to ensure enhanced food safety and quality in the school meals program. The third thematic area is nutrition and health. Under this arm, the government commits to provide safe, diverse and nutritious meals as part of the comprehensive package of school health and nutritional services. The fourth thematic area is on sourcing of food commodities. Under this policy, commitment is given by the government to promote provision of accessible and affordable locally available food commodities. This other thematic area is on partnerships, collaborations, and linkages. The government commits to promote a coordinated approach through partnerships, collaborations, and linkages. The draft policy, Mr. Speaker, document also provides for its implementation. It has provisions on resource mobilization to ensure the sustainability of the program and for monitoring and evaluation together with research. The draft document also outlines the institutional arrangement for the implementation of the policy. A policy will be implemented through the existing Ministry of Education structures at the national and county levels. The draft policy, Mr. Speaker, is to be subjected to the constitutional processes of stakeholder validation and public participation prior to its publication and adoption by the Cabinet. The Ministry targets to have the policy in place by the end of Term 1 of 2025. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry works with county governments in covered areas to enhance access to school meals for learners in pre-primary and primary schools. Since pre-primary education is devolved, county governments take the lead in providing school meals for such learners. However, the ministry has adopted collaborative strategies to work with county governments and other partners to ensure that all learners in covered learning institutions are provided with school meals. These include entering into intergovernmental partnership agreements, as is the case with the Nairobi City County. The agreement provides a framework for collaboration between the national government and the Nairobi City County government for providing school meals to learners from pre-primary to primary school. Mr. Speaker, a school meals module has been developed within the NEMIS platform and successfully piloted in Isiolo. To ensure effective implementation, it is essential that all learners are registered on NEMIS, enabling school meals data to be generated directly from the platform. Additionally, a mobile application linked to NEMIS has been introduced for reporting daily learner attendance. The application allows schools to track the number of learners who received meals each day and monitor food stock balances in real time. Head teachers and school meals program coordinators in Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Kwale, and Isiolo have already been trained on using the NEMIS school meals module and the mobile application, ensuring readiness for full implementation. Plans are also in place to ensure that digitization is implemented in all our counties benefiting from the school meals program. Mr. Speaker, the alternative providers of basic education and training schools institutions in Kenya provide education for students who may not have access to mainstream schools, often due to socioeconomic and geographical difficulties. These schools are primarily operated by private individuals, faith-based organizations, and community-based groups rather than by the government. These institutions complement the government's efforts to provide education training for all. Mr. Speaker, ABET schools typically serve communities in the urban informal settlement areas within the cities, towns, and former municipalities. It is mainly in these environments that ABET institutions have emerged as viable options of responding to educational needs of children, youth, and adults who are unable to join formal education institutions. Currently, Mr. Speaker, there is no legal or policy framework for the Ministry of Education to provide school meals to learners in ABET institutions. The current budgetary provisions is also limiting in terms of the scope that the school meals program can cover. Currently, the school meals program covers a total of 2.6 million learners in 8,185 schools across the country as of 2024. This extends over 26 ASAL counties and informal urban settlements. It is also important to note, Mr. Speaker, that the budget for school meals this financial year was reduced to 3 billion from Kenya shillings 5.4 billion in the year 2023-2024. An expansion of the program will necessarily require additional budget. I submit.
Honorable Watch.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And let me congratulate the CS for one thing, a recognition of the existence and role of alternative provisions for basic education, otherwise known as ABET. And the reason I'm doing this, Honorable Speaker, is that there are about 3 million students in the Republic of Kenya who are neither in public or private schools and are excluded in what under Article 43 is a basic right and compulsory education for all students. So I want to thank you for the recognition that this exists. However, Cabinet Secretary, are you aware that the bureaucracy underneath your office, beginning with the sub-county directors, actually undermine legal notice of 2015 that anchors the idea of ABET? To begin with, NEMIS, which is a requirement for recognition and following up for students from their registration, how they go up to where they do the exam, and even on school feeding program, is denied to ABET students. Are you also aware that even for registration for exams, teachers in ABET call me every time exams are about to be done for registration that they cannot register students because these students are neither in public schools nor private schools? Lastly, Cabinet Secretary, there is a bill that I put in the last parliament, which was the amendment to the Basic Education Act, to anchor these ABET schools. Are you aware that this bill has passed through the committee and is about to be published, and that the members of the Nairobi County, members of parliament, who are most affected by this, which are in informal settlements, would like to have a stakeholder engagement with you, including the Honorable Kajwang here, and we would like to leave here with an appointment that we will get an engagement with you before or just after the publication of this bill. I thank you.
Minister. Minister Hold. Mary Masse.
Thank you, Speaker. It's good that you've given me before the minister a response, because it's related to questions that have been raised by members. Honorable Minister, I put it to you that all directives by the ministry to schools are disregarded. And I'm particularly concerned, Speaker, I'm from my constituency, that for every 10 births that are recorded in the hospital, 6 of them are children under the age of 18. And this is caused by children being sent home and spending most of the time at home because they have not paid for feeding program. They have not paid, and some of them, their homes are next to the schools. They can literally walk home, go eat, and go back. But they are forced to pay the money. You have to pay that money, even if your home is next to the school. So when kids are sent home for school fees, spend most of the time at home, then we're expected to have so many child mothers, because these are children bearing children. So it is a concern to us. The ministry has to do something about when you give directives, you must have a system of compliance to ensure that the schools, the teachers are complying so that our kids stay in school. Thank you.
Yes, Kajwang.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker.
Give Kajwang the mic.
Mr. Speaker, first allow me to congratulate the CS for his intellectual honesty to admit some things which have not been admitted in his docket ever before, including this issue of alternative basic education. This is a bold step that the ministers before him and the operatives under him have never embraced. And now, Mr. Speaker, as he speaks, this is in the whole of Nairobi and in the whole of informal settlements. This is the bedrock of how our learners get education. Mr. Speaker, just to put my friend here in order, Mr. Speaker, the issue of the publication is not in his hands. The issue of the publication of the bill is in the hands of yours truthfully, the Speaker, sir, of this House. So, Mr. Speaker, probably you will fast track that publication so that we engage robustly with this minister to create a policy for the alternative.
Thank you. We'll do so.
Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Article 43 and 53 of the Constitution is a basic right that we are required to provide education to all the kids up to the age of 12. And so if we are not able to do that and somebody else is doing it for us, it is upon us to ensure that we recognize them and we give them the support they need to ensure that we are actually doing what we are supposed to do for the purposes and the interest of those children. So as you do the bill, we are also going to look into in our ministry to see whether it is also time to create a directorate that will be responsible for that particular sector so that all the answers and the issues can be dealt with just like we are dealing with any other students. So I'm with you on that one and we'll be on top of it. On the question of the feeding, the school these lunch fees, these are unauthorized. They are unauthorized levies. In fact, the particular policy in the ministry is that children are allowed to carry lunch or go back home for lunch, or if they do not want to eat lunch, they don't need to be forced to pay. So anybody forcing them or sending them home because they've not paid, it is an illegality. And we've taken the bold decision that going forward, and I did in Ketia earlier when I came, that we'll be moving some of these violations, some of these disobediences into levels that they would be criminal. That's why recently when we were saying that if you are caught doing something, you'll be punished and not just transferred, not just told, given you have committed an illegality in one school, then you are moved to another school, like that other school, it will be all right for you to go and do another illegality there. You need to be punished and ensure that you do not even work in the education sector ever again, so that we have a register of these wrongdoers where we need to check, akin to, when you are getting a compliance certificate or something, so that we can clean this sector. We are willing, we'll bite the bullet and make the decisions that need to be made so that we do right by our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, allow me to apologize for coming late, but I want to seek the Speaker's indulgence to kindly, with a lot of humility, allow the reinstatement of my question number 096 of 2024.
Where were you when I called out?
Honorable Speaker, I had to rush to the constituency, having been here earlier in the morning due to something I needed to attend. Okay. And in view of the question and what is happening in our universities, I kindly seek your indulgence, Honorable Speaker.
Take your seat. Esther Pasares, you can ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 93 of 2024. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide details on the status of implementing the House resolution regarding the standardization of uniforms across the country to be based on the level of education? Could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether the ministry has considered adopting a policy of bulk purchasing and distribution of boarding items such as mattresses, buckets, metal boxes, game kits, rubber shoes, slippers to public schools akin to its approach with books? 3, could the Cabinet Secretary highlight measures taken to address unhealthy and illegal practices in schools, particularly regarding alcohol and drug abuse? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The ministry recognizes that the objective of the resolution to standardize school uniforms across the country is to ensure that school uniforms do not become prohibitively expensive. The matter of the prohibitive cost of school uniforms was also captured in the report of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. The Working Party noted that school uniforms are expensive for parents because school administrators collude with suppliers and force parents to purchase from a specific supplier identified by the school administration. Consequently, the Working Party recommended that the Ministry of Education should provide guidelines to regulate and liberalize the question of school uniforms in basic education institutions. We are now working to implement the resolution of the House and the recommendations of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform. Presently, uniforms for schools are determined by the boards of management of those institutions in consultation with parents' associations of those schools. This is according to Regulation 67 of the Basic Education Regulations of the Act. We are reviewing these regulations as well in the context of the ongoing education sector reforms. We have drafted the requisite reform bills for submission to Parliament. We are now developing draft regulations. This review will require us to consider and balance various factors, such as the need for standardization vis-à-vis the role of the school uniforms as a unique identifier and marks of schools' tradition and history. Some uniforms are also sensitive to climatic conditions in certain areas and specific cultural and religious contexts. In the meantime, as we work to provide an appropriate legal and policy framework, we are already implementing measures to ensure that school uniforms are not prohibitively expensive. By a circular dated 30th of May 2023, under reference number MOE headquarters /3/13/3, Regional and county directors of education were directed to ensure the stoppage of practice where schools stock uniforms and compel parents to buy them, or direct parents to purchase uniforms from specified suppliers. We also note and process the names of non-compliant schools for necessary action within the provisions of the law. The ministry also issued a directive to school principals to the following effect. 1, no school will direct parents to any particular outlet for the purpose of purchasing uniforms, and B, no school will stock any uniforms and boarding-related items whatsoever. The guidelines for the implementation of junior secondary education are clear, and no learner shall be excluded from school for failure to afford school uniform, and that circular is annexed as annex number 3 in our written response. We wish to point out, Mr. Speaker, that under the current legal and policy framework, the scope of the government's role in free and compulsory basic education is limited to paying tuition fees. At the primary school level, the government provides capitation at the rate of 1,420 shillings per learner per year. The rate for junior school is 15,042 per learner per year, and the rate for secondary school is 22,244 per learner per year. Boarding items, Mr. Speaker, are not covered under this capitation by the government. Boarding costs are catered for by parents. In this context, it is the responsibility of the parents to buy boarding items such as mattresses, buckets, metal boxes, and sleepers for their learners. The ministry ensures that the costs of these are affordable by prohibiting schools from requiring parents to purchase these items from specific suppliers or from schools themselves. The funds allocated by Parliament to the Ministry of Education are for capitation to support tuition-related aspects such as textbooks. This is why the centralized purchase of textbooks is funded by retaining part of the capitation to purchase textbooks and distribute them to schools. Mr. Speaker, we have implemented several measures to address unhealthy and illegal practices in schools, with particular focus on combating alcohol and drug abuse. These efforts aim to safeguard students' well-being, enhance the learning environment, and promote moral and social responsibility. Some of these measures include, Mr. Speaker, 1, creating a policy framework. The Ministry of Education has developed policies that outline guidelines for preventing and managing alcohol and drug abuse in schools. These include the National Guidelines for Alcohol and Substance Use Prevention and Management in Basic Education Institutions. Number 2, awareness and sensitization campaigns. The curriculum includes lessons on the dangers of alcohol and drug abuse, helping students develop resilience and decision-making skills to avoid these substances. The ministry also collaborates with organizations such as the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse to raise awareness about the effects of substance abuse. Guidance and counseling programs in schools. Schools are mandated to establish or enhance counseling departments with trained teachers who can provide guidance on personal and social challenges, including substance abuse. Peer educators are also trained to support fellow students by sharing knowledge and experience, creating a supportive environment to resist peer pressure. There is also collaborative with the law enforcement. Schools work with local police to ensure rapid response to incidents involving illegal substances, including arrests of individuals supplying drugs to students. We also coordinate efforts between schools, law enforcement, and NACADA to identify and dismantle supply networks targeting schools. We have also another program, enhancement of monitoring and evaluation. Through our field officers, we undertake regular assessments in schools to evaluate risks and vulnerabilities related to substance abuse with actionable recommendations for improvement. The ministry has also a policy of ensuring that schools encourage students to participate in sports, drama, music, and other extracurricular activities that provide constructive alternatives to drug use. Emphasis is placed on nurturing students' talents and interests, keeping them motivated and less likely to engage in unhealthy behavior. I submit.
Pasaris.
Thank you, CS, through the speaker. CS, I recently took a young girl to school who hadn't gone to school because she had no money. The parents had no money to buy uniforms. This was in a public school in Nairobi County. It cost 30,000 shillings, mattresses, blankets, everything for that family. So the transition is not happening at the moment. I was just wondering, the fact that you provide beds in the boarding facilities, can't you also provide mattresses? Because some of the children are buying 1-inch mattress, 2-inch mattresses, second-hand mattresses, and then they're actually ruining their backs for the future. So it becomes a health hazard. And when I talk about standardization of uniforms, if you look at South Africa, all the schools, they wear practically the same gray, black, simple dress and white shirt. Here we've made uniforms so complicated and very, very expensive. I was just wondering, in your opinion, and as per your policy, because transition, we want 100% transition, is a family that is not able to buy uniform, able to send their child to school with their home clothes? Because for me, I still feel that uniforms are very colonial. And most of the schools in America, in France, even in England, there are some schools that are not having uniforms anymore. Children go with their home clothes. So a family cannot afford school uniforms. What is your policy on the child being admitted to school to study, whether she has uniforms or not? Because it's becoming prohibitive and it's denying the child transition into school. Thank you.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've indicated, as a ministry, the policy is you don't send away students because they do not have uniforms. That's not allowed. You are supposed to admit them whether or not they have been able to afford the units. That is the current policy that is in place. In terms of their standardization of uniforms, having one type of uniform across the country, that is a conversation, I think it's intended, it's a conversation that we are having. I think eventually we might reach there, but as of now, the various schools, through the board of management and through the parents association and the teachers, determine what they want for their particular schools, what uniforms they want for their particular schools. But maybe as a country, that's a conversation we have to move towards that bulk purchases or bulk organization relating, just like we moved from books. It took a long time to transition to it, to the bulk purchasing of books. So it's a conversation that we'll continue having to see how that will work. And I think the other question was,
the other was just a narrative of something she did recently.
I think it was a narrative, but thank you for that.
Madenge.
Well done.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why undergraduate students and master students at the University of Nairobi Dental School are not receiving lecturers and lectures for orthodontics? Secondly, could the Cabinet Secretary elaborate on how students will qualify to graduate without completing the stated required coursework and modules that addresses yet these are doctors who are supposed to be handling human life? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the University of Nairobi has clarified that the dental school continues to deliver orthodontics education, even though there were transitions in the teaching staff. In particular, Mr. Speaker, 2 key members of faculty left. These were Dr. James Ngesa, who resigned in November 2023, and Dr. Peter Okongo, whose contract expired in May 2023. Dr. James Ngesa retired in November 2023. Peter Okongo's contract expired in May 2023. Upon their departure, Mr. Speaker, Dr. Nathan Siwa, a senior member of faculty, has maintained the teaching schedule despite the heavy workload. This has been necessary to ensure continuity. Mr. Speaker, it's important to note that despite staffing challenges, the department continues to deliver orthodontics education through multiple teaching modes, including physical and online lectures, tutorials, and clinical teaching. The department remains well equipped with essential facilities including teaching laboratories, skills laboratories, teaching clinics, lecture theaters, and qualified orthodontics technicians. The university has taken steps to remedy the situation. Dr. Ngesa has indicated a willingness to return in the course of this month. The university is also taking measures to ensure proper succession management. Mr. Speaker, orthodontics is a crucial component of multiple academic programs within the dental school. It is offered in the Bachelor's Dental Surgery program through 2 course units, VDS 490 and VDS 590. At the postgraduate level, orthodontics is taught as part of the Master's Dental Surgery in Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery under Code VMS 590, and the Master of Dental Surgery in Pediatric Dentistry, which includes 2 courses, VPE 822 and HDS 6340. The course is also included in the Masters of Dental Surgery in Pedantology under the code HDS 6340. Mr. Speaker, the University of Nairobi has implemented comprehensive measures to ensure that students complete all required coursework before graduation. In April of 2024, Mr. Speaker, the university administration approved a 5-week extension program specifically for Year 5 Bachelor of Dental Surgery students to complete their outstanding clinical rotations and examinations. This strategic measure that the university took is to ensure that students cover all the relevant coursework before graduation as follows. It was a carefully structured 5-week academic extension for final year of dental surgery students to complete 33 hours of essential clinical rotations. The department has successfully covered the syllabus for various orthodontic courses. This extension was granted without additional financial burden to the students. The university's quality assurance mechanisms, including external examination moderation, remain robust. All examinations are conducted with proper oversight, being set and moderated by external examiners to maintain academic standards. With these strategic interventions, Mr. Speaker, the university is ensuring that its students meet all professional and academic requirements in dental education before graduation. I submit.
Honorable Speaker, I have been, for the information of the Honorable Minister, I am in the dental profession as a dental technologist, and therefore I'm in touch with my professional colleagues, including students. Honorable Speaker, students and their parents, despite not having paying anything extra in coursework, incurred accommodation expenses and food for 5 weeks as a result of the failure by the university to provide lecturers. Honorable Speaker, when you have an entire dental school with only 1 professor and 1 lecturer, taking both undergraduate and master's students, then definitely the quality of training is highly compromised. Honorable Speaker, I dare the minister to take both a team from this house on a tour of the dental school. The dental units in the dental school are hardly functional, and therefore the clinical output in terms of the clinical hours and contact with patients are not being met. And Honorable Speaker, when we look at what is happening with Moi University, we do not want the same to happen with the University of Nairobi.
Thank you. Yes, Kagusha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the same breath, on the issue of University of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker, we seem to be having an administrative challenge whereby the chancellor, the chairman of the council of the university, Professor Amukoa Nangwe, seems to be wreaking havoc in the university. Seems to have removed the vice chancellor, Professor Kiama, despite the fact that he was remaining with only 4 months to complete his term. And of course, he wished to have the renewal of the same contract. But he was not only removed as a vice chancellor of the university, but his professorship as a faculty member in the University of Nairobi has also been revoked. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable CS should explain to us really what could be this bad that you sack or remove a university VC just about 4 months before his renewal, and then you go ahead to sack him as a professor of the university, something that is unheard of, that has not been seen before in this country. Honorable Speaker, the same chairman of the council has also transferred the many staff from that university as if he was an executive chairman, and yet he's not supposed to be in the day-to-day operations and running of that university. He has, for example, transferred the registrar admin, Mr. Benan Jogona, to Kisumu from a registrar position. He has also transferred the estate manager, Andrew Buka. Honorable Speaker, the University of Nairobi again, perhaps to ensure that the council chairman has an overriding say in that university, has ensured that all the senior positions in that university remain vacant. If you go to the position of the VC, there's no VC, no DVC, not even a single one. Honorable Speaker, even the finance officer is not there. The procurement officer is not there. That is procurement manager, chief medical officer, and also the chief security officer. And all these are actually positions which are very important for the running of the university. And in the absence of this, we have acting people in that capacity. And Honorable Speaker, what has happened is now that the council chairman has now taken on the responsibility to run these positions. Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether the CS is even aware that the council chairman has even secured a house within the university to stay and to sleep in. And
where is the evidence for all this?
Honorable Speaker, I can provide this evidence. I can provide this evidence. He has secured a house to sleep in the university. He has acquired an office in the university, and now he comes there. Honorable Speaker, it's even rumored that he intends to...
Order. This house will not...
Honorable Speaker, I refuse... Honorable Speaker, I withdraw. I withdraw on the rumor. But Honorable Speaker, the EACC has written to the chairman of the council, asking him to remove Brian Ouma from a position that he holds with fake papers, a position that is not provided for in the university.
Honorable Kagusha, as a lawyer, you are treading on very dangerous grounds. You are making very outrageous allegations with no evidence.
Honorable Speaker, if you give me time, even within a few minutes, I'll provide evidence. I'll table evidence in this National Assembly.
You will go ahead and do so.
I'll do so, Honorable Speaker.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Rachel Nyamai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to also joyride on this. I would like to ask the Cabinet Secretary whether he is going to assure this House that there will be no crisis in this school of dentistry. Listening to him very carefully, and he was very careful when he was responding to this question, there seems to be a problem of human power. With only one professor in the dentistry department, one lecturer who has resigned, and one whose contract has come to an end. Can he assure this House that he is going to administratively ensure that students from the University of Nairobi are not going to be left without training for this very important course, which concerns, which is actually a matter of life and death, because it's about teeth, it's about the mouth, Honorable Speaker, and this is about life, Honorable Speaker. Dentistry is very important, and we cannot play around with it, because dentistry is also part of core medicine. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I will just go straight to my question on university education. And CS is aware that besides the issues that were being alluded to by Honorable Kagusha regarding the University of Nairobi, and I repeat, the University of Nairobi.
Yes, the University.
The University of Nairobi.
Yes.
CS You're also aware that Moi University...
Robert, you behave like you didn't go to the University of Nairobi. Go on.
Honorable Speaker, on a light note, Robert Mbui attended one of the other universities named after individuals. I was telling CS is also aware that Moi University has been in a crisis for some time, and would want to hear what policy initiatives the CS and the ministry has put in place to ensure that, one, we have changed the funding model, and now universities have almost adequate resources. I say almost because this has just begun, but we are certain that they will have adequate resources now to be able to run their programs. But the question of governance in universities remains a major challenge, not just in Nairobi University, Moi University, but in almost all our public universities. CS, if you visit almost all of our public universities, they all have major stalled projects. Some of them include gates and gatehouses that are built at the cost of hundreds of millions. I would want to hear what the ministry and the CS you are doing in terms of policy changes to ensure that public universities do not spend public money that they are getting through the new funding model, because they will definitely get more money to invest in white elephant, mega white elephant projects that are never completed. And they're usually always, not usually, they are always a conduit for pilferage of public resources. CS, my question is just that, what policy initiatives or what policy interventions you are putting in place as a new cabinet secretary in charge of education to specifically deal with that issue in our public universities? Because if the lack of exchequer releases to universities was a problem, the bigger problem is how that exchequer is expended once it gets to those universities. And see, as visit these universities, you will see, whether you go to Moi, whether you go to Nairobi, go to Lwakabete, they had projects there that were left there in the Nyayo days. You go to Kikuyu campus of Nairobi University, the same. Go to Chuka University, the same. Embu University, everywhere. Southeastern University, not a single university doesn't have a mega project that is stalled. And those who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee will tell you the kind of lobbying that is usually there during the budget making process to allocate resources to this and that university, but those projects never come to fruition and are never completed. Thank you, Honorable CS.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of the University of Nairobi Dentistry Unit, we requested for that clarification, and we got that report about what they are doing vis-a-vis the challenges they had when the two professors left, and what steps they are taking to ensure that there is continuity in the learning. With respect to the particular equipment and the particular laboratories that are dilapidated, this is a replica of almost everything that is going on in almost all the universities. But I can assure you that we are going to make a point of bringing our universities back to what they used to be. And I want to answer the question that was raised by Honorable Kagusha together, generally, because I don't want to go into specifics, because as we speak, we are taking action on the issue of governance in universities. Governance is a very big challenge, is a very big problem that has bedeviled almost all our universities. 23 of our public universities, we keep saying in English they're technically insolvent, but I think they're insolvent. So we need to ensure that as we deal with the budget, we also deal with the governance, because you can give an institution money, but if the governance is wanting, that money would not do what it is supposed to do. So we are doing something about it. We are doing currently something about the challenges that Nairobi University is facing. I don't want to go into details because it's alive and active even as we speak, There's a team working on it as we speak. But with respect to what we are going to do to deal with the issues relating to uncompleted projects in various universities, we've requested and we've directed that there be an audit from each and every university on the stalled projects and the costs that are required for them to be completed. And we've also directed that no new project should start until those projects that have stalled are sorted out. So we are doing something, we are cleaning up that space, and we will be coming here all the time, because on issues relating to governance, there are also issues affecting communities and other things. So we'll be coming back to get your support so that as we implement these policies, some of them, as we said, are they're going to be bitter, but we'll need your support in order for us to be able to implement them. All of us are affected by what is happening in the universities, and it's time that we all put our hands on the table, all hands on deck, so that we can be able to solve them. Thank you. I submit.
Yes, Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a house of records. And when a cabinet secretary responds in affirmative, it means the situation is wanting. Honorable Speaker, the cabinet secretary has just confirmed that 23 of our universities are insolvent. What does that mean, Honorable Speaker? It means the universities are unable to pay or own debts. And in terms of understanding the financials, Honorable Speaker, they are supposed to be given two directions, either natural death or liquidation. What route has the minister initiated so that our insolvent institutions are settled?
Inyikal. Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I would like to just bring the attention to the attention of the Honorable Minister that as the law stands now, with the Commission of University Education, the Medical Practitioner and Dentist Council actually do not go out to monitor the training of medical and dental students. And that work is left to the Commission of University Education, and I'm not so sure whether they have the capacity. How then can they pick in advance the problems that have been brought out by Honorable Madenge if the Medical Practitioner and Dentist Council is not doing what formerly, before the new law, the University Act came, was the practice?
Yes, I want to close this. Gogoyo.
Thank you, Speaker. Mine is just brief. Earlier on the CS, because I want clarity, Mr. CS, you are aware that TSC has confirmed that they lack science teachers in this country. What are you doing? Because it is the ministry that owns the colleges. What are you doing to make sure that we have science teachers? In my constituency, there is no deployment of any teacher for the science lesson for JSS. All that we have are in the arts. What are you doing to make sure that in the present and in the future, you will have science teachers to go to schools? Because it is clear that there is a deficit. And TSC has said they have none to deploy.
Minister.
Thank you. On the question of the insolvency or the technical insolvency of the universities, this is why the new funding model was introduced, in order to ensure that universities have sufficient funds to be able to turn around. Based on that, and based on the simulations that have been done, all our universities that are in this situation with proper governance will come out of the doldrums in the next 3 or 4 years. So that is the program that is in place to ensure that we do not lose our universities. On the question of the university the Commission of University Education and the Council, we are undertaking currently the amendments of the laws, including the Commission of University Education Act, to ensure that it is harmonized and it is aligned, to ensure that there is no contradiction on the duties and responsibility that the various organizations that deal with the various medical institutions or other educational institutions, including engineers. There is no conflict. We are working on the harmonization so that it is smoother and it will that be more effective on what it was initially intended to do. And Q is working with all the professional bodies to ensure that whatever issues that are of conflict within their mandates are aligned, and we have a body that is fit for purpose. On the issue of the science teachers that are lacking, we have started working with the semester to ensure that a number of teachers are employed, and there are a number of teachers that have not necessarily the whole of science, because I understood that what TSC was saying, for example, mathematics, they are not labeling maths as a science subject. So that we are working on that to see what does it really mean to say this is a science teacher. So those we are working with them to ensure that even as admissions are done, a lot of students, a lot of learners, a lot of graduates take the science courses vis-a-vis some of the what we could call where is the word going? There's a word. I'm saying there's going to be. Okay, I'll remember it. But we are doing something towards encouraging students to apply for more science courses and ensuring that we have some programs that we support them. For example, we want to come up with support in terms of resources so that if somebody is going to do science, is supported that much more than somebody who's going to do art, so that we can get much more students coming in.
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action, yes. Thank you. It's been quite long.
Yes, Robert Mboi, the very last.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your indulgence, and I first want to apologize for having come after the minister to ask this question. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 16 of this year to the CS. First and foremost, can the CS provide an update on the status of preparedness by his ministry to the transition of grade 8 learners to grade 9, which is happening at the end of this year? Mr. Speaker, the second one is, could the minister provide a report on the number of classrooms planned to be constructed and the number of classrooms that have already been constructed in readiness for January 2025? Number 3, could the minister outline the plans put in place by his ministry to ensure seamless transition of the learners from grade 8 to grade 9? And finally, to clarify whether there are adequate teachers to support the learners transiting to grade 9, and indicate whether there are any plans by the ministry through the Teacher Service Commission to absorb enough teachers to ensure seamless transition across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In preparations for transition to grade 9, we are focused on 3 main aspects: the provision of adequate classrooms and furniture, the provision of adequate textbooks, and the recruitment of additional teachers. On classrooms, Mr. Speaker, the ministry undertook a countrywide assessment which found that a total classroom requirement of grade 9 is 16,000 classrooms. To ensure these classrooms are ready by January 2025, the government has disbursed 11 billion shillings to schools across the country for the construction of 11,000 grade 9 classrooms. A further 6.8 billion has been allocated to the national government Constituency Development Fund, being 3.4 billion from the Ministry of Education, matched with 3.4 billion from CDF for 6,800 classrooms. The 18 constituencies in Nairobi County have been allocated another 1 billion shillings for infrastructure development through CDF. Mr. Speaker, we take the opportunity to thank the members for the work they are doing in their respective constituencies in constructing the classrooms, and we really value that support and partnership. Mr. Speaker, every public junior school with learners on NEMIS get 15,042 shillings per learner per year. There is a vote on the repairs and improvement of school infrastructure, which is currently 4,000 per learner per year. The ministry has directed that the money under this vote for this term be strictly used for the provision of desks and chairs for grade 9. On the issue of teachers, the Teacher Service Commission, through a multi-agency approach, has trained 60,642 junior school teachers. The teachers will undergo further retooling in November and December to prepare them for grade 9. During the same period, the 19,960 junior school head teachers will be retooled. The Commission, in collaboration with the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology Education Africa, has provided specialized tailor-made retooling programs for 7,700 teachers integrated in science and mathematics. Mr. Speaker, it is to be noted that during the financial years 2022-2023 and 2023-2024, the government recruited a total of 48,550 teachers for junior school. This included 9,000 teachers on permanent and pensionable terms and 39,550 teacher interns. In addition, the government deployed 8,378 qualified primary school teachers to junior school, increasing the current number of junior school teachers to 56,367. Following the allocation of budget, the government has converted the 46,000 intern teachers to permanent and pensionable terms beginning January 2025. The Teacher Service Commission is now recruiting an additional 20,000 intern teachers who will be at work by January 2025. Mr. Speaker, on textbooks, the ministry, through the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, began countywide distribution of books on 23rd of October 2024. The books are being distributed at the ratio of 1 book per learner per subject in every learning area. The distribution will be completed at the time of start of term 1 in January 2025. Mr. Speaker, a total of 16,000 classrooms are required for grade 9. However, the government has provided resources for construction of a total of 17,800 classrooms, that being the Ministry of Education is directly responsible for 11,000 classrooms, while the CDF is working on another 6,800 classrooms. Out of the 11,000 classrooms, Mr. Speaker, that are funded by the ministry, a total of 5,052 classrooms across the country have already been completed and handed over. The remaining 5,948 classrooms are at various stages of completion and will be ready by December 2024. It's expected, Mr. Speaker, that the construction of 6,800 classrooms being done by CDF will also be completed by 2024 December. The ministry has taken the following measures to ensure that the grade 9 classrooms are completed before the start of 2025 academic year. 1, there are strict timelines that were provided for the construction to ensure completion by December 2024. 2, the procurement process was undertaken at the school level so that they can manage and own the process and the progress of the construction. And number 3, the monitoring of the construction sites has been ongoing to ensure timely completion of the projects. Field officers provide weekly updates to the ministry on the progress of the construction, and any challenges that they face are immediately escalated. Mr. Speaker, the ministry has taken the following measures to ensure seamless transition of learners from grade 8 to grade 9. 1, there is provision of adequate infrastructure and furniture by building the necessary classrooms in time and directing the acquisition of furniture from the capitation provided to schools. 2, 2, providing resources for the construction of the confirmation of 46,000 teachers to permanent and pensionable terms and for the employment of an additional 20,000. Number 3, distributing books across the country to ensure that learners will have their textbooks at the ratio of 1 book per learner per subject. Number 4, retooling junior school teachers to adequately prepare them to handle grade 9 learners. And number 5, the ministry will ensure timely disbursement of capitation to support junior school operations. Mr. Speaker, as earlier indicated, public junior school has been served with 56,367 teachers, comprising 9,000 teachers on permanent and pensionable terms, 9,550 intern teachers, and 8,378 qualified primary school teachers who are deployed to junior school. The government has converted the terms of the intern teachers to permanent and pensionable to be effective in January 2025. Mr. Speaker, the government is recruiting another 20,000 of teachers. The intern teachers will report to schools in January. Further recruitment will be done progressively to bridge the gap and ensure optimal staffing levels as resources become available. To enhance the capacity of junior school teachers, including school heads, the Teacher Service Commission continues to provide in-service training through multi-agency approaches. This ensures that all teachers are retooled to effectively implement the competency-based curriculum and deliver quality learning outcomes. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, allow me to first inform the CS that members fund that does that, not members of parliament. But Mr. Speaker, numbers don't lie. The CS has clearly indicated that there is a total of about 16,000 classrooms that are going to be built for purposes of junior secondary school. But Mr. Speaker, the government policy was that every primary school is supposed to transition to junior secondary school, and therefore they must have a grade 9 class by January next year. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, some of the schools do not have a single stream. They have more than a single stream, either double or triple. Mr. Speaker, there is over 32,000 primary schools in Kenya. Now, if he's talking about 16,000 classrooms, that obviously does not even reach half the schools. So, Mr. Speaker, I want the CS to tell us, all those schools, more than half in the Republic, that will not have a class ready in January, what exactly are the principals or the heads of the institution supposed to do? Mr. Speaker, secondly, it's also important to note that the number of teachers that he has enumerated here are not enough to teach in all those schools the junior grades. Because junior secondary starts from grade 7, grade 8, and in January 2025, it will be up to grade 9. We don't have enough teachers. What advice is he giving the principals and the heads of the institutions to be able to figure out what to do when the children report in January? And thirdly, Mr. Speaker.
Enough, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am not done.
Yes. You are now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, the minister was taking a joyride on my question and was talking about, resources and textbooks. He has also not talked about the laboratories needed for junior secondary school. Can he tell us when we'll get to laboratories and enough for our schools? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let him answer that first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I indicated is that an assessment was done to determine how many classrooms that would be required for the transition from grade 8 to grade 9 of the students that we have, and it came to 16,000 classrooms. And those are the classrooms that the construction by the ministry is being undertaken. Additionally, the National Government Constituency Development Fund, in partnership with the ministry, would be constructing another 6,800, making a total of 16,000 that I've indicated, 16,000 classrooms. And there is a method that was used in assessing which schools require to have which classroom.
Minister, the more important issue is asking,
yes,
what will you do where classrooms will not be ready when children go to school? And the second one is, can you tell the country whether you have prepared necessary facilities like laboratories in the schools. The others, you are just repeating what you have said.
Yes, so what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that the 16,000 classrooms will be ready in January to admit the students. This is the assessment that has been done by the ministry, and we are saying we will be ready in January. In terms of the laboratories, there is a program to construct 2,000 labs next year, and we'll start once we finish with these classrooms. So they are not there as we speak.
Yes, Makali Molu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with what Honorable Mboy was saying in terms of construction of classrooms by members of Parliament, because this is a house of record. But I also want to follow up on an earlier matter, Honorable Speaker, which I think is quite serious, and I think we need your indulgence, Honorable Speaker. The CS did mention in his statement that the universities are insolvent. And those of us who have a financial background, if we allow that to go to the record, Honorable Speaker, it will have serious repercussions in terms of universities. I want to plead with you, Honorable Speaker, if it's possible, that we allow the CS to retain technical insolvency other than saying, confirming that the universities are insolvent, because that could have a serious
Minister, are they
implication.
technical insolvent or insolvent?
Technical insolvent, Mr. Speaker.
So the words actually insolvent are expunged?
They are expunged. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, before we go on, allow me to recognize a delegation from the National People's Congress of the People's Republic of China. I wish to introduce to you a delegation comprising members of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National People's Congress of the People's Republic of China, seated in the Speaker's row. They are Professor Hao Ping, member of the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, Vice Chairman of Foreign Affairs Committee, and leader of the delegation. Mr. Ma Yiming, a member of the delegation. Mr. Zhang Li, a member. The delegation is accompanied by 3 officers and is in the country for bilateral meetings with members of the Kenya-China Parliamentary Friendship Group in the National Assembly. Honorable members, on behalf of the National Assembly and on my own behalf, I welcome them to Parliament and wish them fruitful engagements during their stay in the country. Thank you. Yes, Sunguli. Minister, you hold
Mr. Speaker, I wish to join you in welcoming the members of the NPC, the National People's Congress of the People's Republic of China, where I served as ambassador for 5 years. This delegation...
You should also be honest to say through the courtesy of yours truly.
And Mr. Speaker, I still recall those days after you had given me an appointment letter that you subsequently gave me another letter to say that I was one of the best serving ambassadors. But it was during your great leadership in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that the People's Republic of China and Kenya became really good partners, and that a lot of investments went through because of the leadership that we had at that time. We want to urge the House to continue treating the People's Republic of China as great friends. I know that you have not recognized Ambassador Joe Ping.
Is the ambassador there as well?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. He was not on my list. Welcome, Your Excellency, to the House of Parliament.
Ambassador Joe is the real glue that is holding the relationship now, and is promoting the relationship between this House and the People's Republic and the National People's Congress of the People's Republic of China. So we want to welcome them, and to assure them that the Republic of Kenya is a great friend and values the great contribution of China in the development of our republic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shakil, do you need to say anything?
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you very much for the honor. As the chair of the Kenya-China Parliamentary Friendship Group, we welcome our visitors. They are members of the Communist Party Congress. They are parliamentarians, and we've already had a successful third bilateral meeting with them. We shall be meeting you a little later on. So your Speaker, sir, I want to say to you that we've had, even the Deputy Speaker has been on one of those meetings, and many others, including...
Just welcome them to the House.
I just welcome them to the House. Thank you very much.
Yes, Elachi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me also this afternoon to really thank you for giving us an opportunity to meet the Foreign Affairs Committee of the National People's Congress, and to really thank Professor Hao Ping for indeed the visit that they gave us in China. And I just want to say to the ambassador, indeed you are a true friend as a country, and indeed we will learn a lot from you. But more importantly, we know we have embraced each other, and we shall continue working together to create a better relationship than even what we have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We'll go back to questions. Yes, Kagusha.
Honorable Speaker, I want to really thank you very much for giving this opportunity once again. Honorable Speaker, you asked me and requested me to table evidence on the many issues that I raised here. Honorable Speaker,
hand over the documents to the clerk.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to be on record.
Hold on there. Hand over the documents to the clerk. He has already told me that he needs to verify. So having documents and proving your case are two different things. Give to the clerk, then tomorrow I'll rule on their admissibility. Not tomorrow, on Monday afternoon. If they are found to be authentic, I'll allow them on record. If not, I'll expunge them and make the necessary punishment on the person who has brought them.
Honorable Speaker, just on the same, as I table them, I realize that the minister did not in any way answer the issues which I raised, even those which did not need documentation and evidence.
Once I verify, we can summon him anytime. So give them to the clerk, then they will authenticate the documents, and I will... Honorable members, we have the Minister for Agriculture waiting to take the floor. I want us to stop here with education and bring in the Minister for Agriculture. It's only fair. Order, members, in the interest of fairness, you are about 10 of you raising hands. I reject all of them. Yes. Let's get the Minister for Agriculture. Minister for Education, you are released to go back to your office.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
All the issues members are raising.
Yes.
As you go away, honorable members, as the minister goes away, Order Mwenje, take your seat. As the minister goes away, if, and this is something that you need to come and address the House, if the JSS is going to be domiciled in primary schools, right?
Yes.
If the JSS is going to be domiciled in primary schools, What it means, there are not going to be Form 1 students in secondary schools, right?
Yes.
What is going to happen to physical facilities in the existing secondary schools in terms of classrooms and boarding facilities? What are you planning to do with them now that you are going to domicile this in, and also the teachers in those schools, the Form 1 teachers in secondary schools? What are you going to do with them? I think next time you come to the House, it will be important that you come and satisfy members of Parliament and the country so that we don't engage in any wastage of public facilities and public resources.
Well noted, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Majority Leader, can you now release your minister and bring in the Minister of Agriculture? Members with questions to agriculture, be ready. Minister, you are welcome, and your team. Welcome, Minister, and we will start with question 146 of 2024 by the Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My question is directed at the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development, but I will just in 1 minute explain to him the background because it's followed up from an action of the previous minister. So Cabinet Secretary, on the 31st of August 2023, I wrote to the then Minister of Agriculture, relating to the use of carcinogenic pesticides in Kenya. And at that time, I had already brought a motion to Parliament in September 2019. That was the 12th Parliament. And again in 2022, in the 13th Parliament, I again raised the same issue. And then again in the year 2023, I sought a motion for even the removal from office from the members of the Pest Control Products Board. Reason being that 76% of the total volume of pesticides used in Kenya have one or more active ingredients categorized as highly hazardous pesticides. This information is with the Ministry of Agriculture. Also, it was confirmed that some of the pesticides, in fact, over 40% of the pesticides that come into the country, are pesticides that have been banned in the United States and other parts of North America, and also in the entire Europe. However, those same pesticides are manufactured in those countries, but for export only to countries such as Kenya. And therefore, we want to ask, what is the status of implementing the recommendations of the National Assembly with regards to that public petition petition number 70 of 2019, and what steps have been taken by the ministry to withdraw those harmful chemical pesticides in the Kenyan market, and also what has the minister done to respond to my letter of 31st August 2023, which I also had an opportunity to bring it to your attention during the time you are being vetted for appointment as minister. And lastly, there is also what is being done about ensuring that the pesticide, which was formerly called Roundup, which currently is being sold under a different trade name, but with the same ingredients, what steps have been taken to remove it from the Kenyan market, even though it is known and is public knowledge, again, to the Pest Products Control Board, that, in fact, farmers in the United States were paid $230 million for having developed cancer as a result of use of those pesticides. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. First of all, is to say that, yes, the issue has been, we have been seized of the issue for a long time, and it has been discussed many times with various committees and tabled on 26th August and to the Committee on Implementation. A comprehensive report was tabled in that committee. But what regarding the question, there is the status of recommended National Assembly Department Committee of Health. We had several issues which were raised there, and the Honourable Member, Boss Chere, is raising, and I'll go through them so that I will indicate what the ministry has done to each particular issue. And the public petition number 70 of 2019 had 7 recommendations that had been addressed by the Ministry of Livestock and Agriculture and Livestock Development. One of the issues was on regulation and distributing and retailing of pesticides. And our response is that the ministry has already gazetted the pest control products and inspection and certification regulations of 2024 on 18th June 2024. The regulation sets the requirements for certification of distributors and retailing of pest control products. So those regulations were the ones which were recommended by the studying that committee, and we have already done the gazettement. So that action has been taken. The other one was the analysis of the products in the Kenyan market. We were requested to analyze the products, pesticide products in the Kenyan market, and the response is that 31 active ingredients and associated end-use products have been reviewed, and we have provided an annex, Mr. Speaker, Annex 4 in our report, which details all those pesticides which have been analyzed. The active ingredients have been analyzed, as we were requested by the committee to do. The development of the highly hazardous pesticide, what we call HHPS strategy, is also ongoing in partnership with the East African community. This is not a one-nation affair. We are also liaising with our East African community member states, so that because some of these pesticides are used across the East African community. And in the last 3 years, 79 pest control products have also been voluntarily withdrawn by litigants for various reasons. So various litigants or registrations have been, 79 of them have voluntarily withdrawn their for various reasons. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, which was raised, number 3, was on funding. It was noted that in order for PCPB to do a good job, it had to have adequate funding. And PCPB has been underfunded until the current financial year, when funding was enhanced, and we accepted that. The raw funding caused the delays in reviewing the active ingredients in the petition, review of the regulations in the Pest Control Products Bill. However, development and review of regulations require public participation and also conduct of regulatory impact assessment, which requires a lot of resources, as you agree with me. And the funding needs to be to enhance so that the PCPB can do its work. So from this year, we have seen increased funding for PCPB, and we are hoping that it will do a better job in terms of making sure it does what it was requested to do. The other issue which was raised is the annual publication of pest control products that have been withdrawn or banned. And I report, Mr. Speaker, sir, that PCB publishes normally a list of withdrawn active ingredients and decisions, a list of withdrawn active ingredients and decisions. It also publishes a list of banned products, a list of the registered products, and a list of restricted products on its website. And we have provided also in our report an Annex 5, which indicates some of these products which has been withdrawn or restricted. So, and the ones which has been banned, actually in Annex 5 is on banned products in Kenya. So you see, members, you see there are 45 of them which have been banned in Kenya, and they are listed there from the herbicides, insecticides, and other products. So I don't have to go through the whole list of the products which have been banned, but the list is provided as it was requested. Then number 5 was the amendment to the Pest Control Act. We were requested to do the amendment to the Pest Control Act. The Cabinet memo, I can report that the Cabinet memo on the Pest Control Products Bill is on the National Treasury, awaiting concurrence and thereafter submission to Cabinet. So we have prepared the Pest Control Products Bill, and it is on way to Cabinet for approval. The regulations anchored on the PCPB Act of 346 of 1982 were recently gazetted. So we had proceeded to actually do the regulations before the bill, even the bill comes into place. So that is our response, and we have taken action. The other issue was access to data. And PCB has been accessing technical information on the data package supporting the safety of human health and environment. This data includes the chemistry, toxicology, effects on the environment and beneficial organisms, efficacy and residue studies, fate and behavior in the environment. This has been further elaborated in the new registration and regulations gazetted on 6 August 2024 under the Kenya Gazette Supplement number 155 and Legal Notice number 130. The proposal for the proposed PCPB bill provides for evaluation of PCP for safety of human health and environmental prior to registration. So also action has been taken, as you have seen, with the regulations in place. Labeling. One of the issues we are requested to do is also to do labeling, and the pest control products labeling, advertising, and packaging regulations were also gazetted in June 2024. The regulations require that all pest control products must have a label with adequate information. One of the issues which were raised in some of the cases in US and other jurisdictions was that the pesticides were not well labeled so that the users can be able to know whether there are any hazards and any risks or any dangers they pose. So we have gazetted the regulations to make sure that all the labels, all the pesticides are well labeled and the necessary information is given. The label should have signal words, precautionary pictograms, hazard symbols, and be compliant with the global harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals. All commercial labels must be both in English and Kiswahili for ease of interpretation. The banning of products. We are requested to look at what is available in Kenya and make sure that we have products which are harmful to humans and other creatures to be banned. But PCPB undertakes, we can report that undertakes evidence and science-based decision when evaluating application on registration. And 45 active ingredients associated end-use products have been banned based on the decision of the international conventions like Rotterdam Convention, Stockholm Convention. The banned active ingredients are not allowed in the country, and the list of banned products is publicly available at PCB websites. The ministry has given regular update on the parliamentary committees on the progress, e.g. recently the Committee of Implementation Status of House resolutions on 19 September 2024 and Agriculture and Livestock Committee on September 2024. So there has been continuous engagement with this House and the committees on these banned products, and we have been discussing with the help of the PCPB, giving us the technical input. We are also requested to enhance our laboratory and analytical capacity. And what I can report is that the construction of our laboratory block is at 95% completion and a total cost of 328 million. Completion of the laboratory has been slow due to inadequate funding, inadequate analytical capacity, equipment, and staffing has also been one of some of the issues. The ministry in the process of equipping the laboratory and engaging the technical staff. So we have also enhanced our capacity by ensuring that we have a laboratory which can be able to analyze these agrochemicals. Then there was the issue of epidemiological studies to be done. Pesticide use, I can report, was conducted in Nakuru and Nyandarua counties in 2022. The survey showed that there is need to collaborate to train farmers on the use of pesticides. A pesticide residue study was also carried out during the same year. 63 samples of kales, that is sukuma wiki, tomatoes, onions were sampled at farm gate level and major markets in Nakuru, Nyandarua, and Kajiado countries. One kale sample exceeded Codex minimum residue, showing 98.4 compliance. A recent residue study on kales, tomatoes, and onions showed high level of compliance to Codex minimum residue levels. The results from these surveys has informed decision on regulatory action and pertaining to pesticide labeling and training and awareness creation. So we have been constantly undertaking field studies to ensure that we are informed about if there is any minimum levels being exceeded and any epidemiological issues which have been coming up. Then there was the issue of enhancing and promoting training and public awareness of these pesticides. And the statutory organization, PCPB.
Minister, you have taken 20 minutes on one question.
Yes.
Not acceptable.
Sorry, sir. Because the issues.
Answers must be precise and concise.
Okay.
And related to the questions as asked.
And point of order, maybe I can direct.
Yes. Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Cabinet Secretary, I have no doubt in my mind that response was written for you by the Pest Control Products Board. Yes. Because that's exactly what they've been telling me since 2022. So that is not an answer. You cannot say that you want to analyze the pesticide and check for the ingredients. You don't need to do that. World science has already confirmed in peer-reviewed medical journals that it is harmful and causes cancer. End of story. So all you need to undertake is a literature review on the table, just using the books and the other publications that have been made, including the court judgments that have already been given and awarded people, and even the decisions by those countries to not sell them at all or use them in their own countries. That information is available to you. You also know very well that for all our exports, any flowers or vegetables that leave Kenya, if you don't use organic pyrethrum-based pesticides, it is returned back. The moment they reach the airport overseas, they are tested for minimum residue limits and they are sent back into Kenya. And the moment they get to our airport, what the people at the airport do is it makes its way to the local market. You also know very well that the over 22 scientists from various universities in Kenya did that desk review and came up with something called the Pesticide Atlas. So that story of saying we are analyzing, we need more money, we need a laboratory, it is not necessary at all. What you need to do is save lives of Kenyans first. And you save our lives first by and you don't need a new regulation. You simply go, the Pest Products Control Board, go to their list of approved pesticides, remove those ones that we know to be harmful now, stop the harm,